Chinese troops mass on Hong Kong border. Google has a deeper relationship with Huawei than we thought. And the life of a North Korean elite. That and more on this week's China Uncensored. This is China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. This week's China news headlines. First up, Hong Kong. I've got good news and bad news for Hong Kong. The good news, the U.S. government is keeping an eye on the situation. The bad news is the situation is that Chinese troops may be massing on the border.
What do we know about this alleged troop buildup on the border?
Well, this is coming from a White House official who wanted to remain anonymous, telling journalists that they have evidence that perhaps there is a congregation, a buildup of Chinese troops, PLA, or armed police on the border with Hong Kong. We don't know the numbers, and we don't know, the nature of this buildup, if it is in fact a buildup.
Yes, the nature of the thing, if it indeed is a thing, but I don't want to make a thing out of it. Speaking of the People's Liberation Army, yesterday, August 1st, was their birthday. The PLA is 92 years old. Happy belated. And to celebrate, the PLA has been releasing videos on social media, including this one from the PLA's Hong Kong garrison, which seems to show soldiers blowing up innocent cars, yelling in Cantonese, and running anti-riot drills against unarmed civilians. Lots of anti-riot drills. It's almost like they're trying to send a message. But Hong Kong protesters may not even need to be worried about the Chinese military, they just need to worry about cops. This Hong Kong policeman started waving his shotgun at protesters with his finger on the trigger. Police later said the gun was loaded with beanbag rounds and that the officer was in fear for his life. Yeah, he looks terrified. So Hong Kong police officers may not know good trigger discipline, but there is one thing they do know. Triads. Remember that triad attack on protesters a week ago? Hong Kong police knew about it ahead of time. The police have now admitted they had intelligence days before the attack that something was going down, but they chose not to act on the intelligence. Sounds to me like a secret plot by the Hong Kong government. A secret plot where the protests get more dangerous, then they get more media attention, and then the government is forced to give in and give Hong Kongers their freedom back. Or maybe the police are just incompetent. A Texas man has been convicted of stealing trade secrets for China. According to federal prosecutors, the 54-year-old man named Shan Shi sent more than $3 million from China to fund his efforts to steal a Houston company's process for manufacturing a durable, lightweight foam that's essential for deep-sea oil and gas drilling. China's even trying to steal our foam secrets. Wait, the US has foam secrets? Google and the Chinese telecom company Huawei may have had a deeper relationship than previously thought. According to the tech news website The Information, Google and Huawei were involved in several product development projects. That came to an end when the Trump administration essentially banned Huawei from the US market, calling it a national security threat. One of the projects was a Huawei-branded smart speaker that used Google Assistant. It would have been called AI Cube, a nice, friendly name that conjures up nice, friendly images. Really a shame we won't be seeing that in our homes anytime soon. Meanwhile, China is expected to roll out a tough new expansion of a cybersecurity law. It would in part forbid certain data from leaving China, or at least slow the process of dispatching data, which would increase uncertainties and costs for business. Cybersecurity laws in China have allowed the Chinese regime to maintain a tight grip on data and information within China, eliminate data privacy, and serve as a legal means for the party to steal Western intellectual property. The sad part about all this is the new rules are going to hurt companies like Cisco and Dell, the very same companies that helped build China's vast network of surveillance systems and control. My heart bleeds for them. Facebook has been desperate to get into China ever since it was banned there. But now they may have a powerful bargaining chip: digital currency. Facebook announced its plan to create its own cryptocurrency called Libra.
Introducing Libra, a new global currency designed for the digital world.
And here I thought the Borg cube was scary. The issue for China is they've been trying to make their own cryptocurrency since about 2014. Why? According to NPR, a digital currency would allow China's central bank to record every single transaction with high precision in real time. That would be a powerful tool for control in a society where almost everything is paid for digitally. And according to a Chinese crypto expert, China relies on the mobile payment sector immensely. We have had a long lead time over Libra with the success of WeChat and Alipay, but Libra represents a huge threat on mobile payments. Facebook says Libra will be ready by 2020. And since Facebook has 2.4 billion users, more than double the users of China's WeChat, it could seriously rival China's global cryptocurrency ambitions. And that's exactly how Facebook is framing Libra, at least to the US government. In this statement to the House Financial Services Committee, David Marcus, the man behind Libra, said, "I believe that if America does not lead innovation in the digital currency and payments area, others will." But considering Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg was so desperate to get Facebook in China that he asked Chinese President Xi Jinping to name his firstborn daughter, who knows how he'll leverage Libra to get access to that sweet, sweet China market. And coming up after the break, we sit down with a high-ranking defector from North Korea to talk about what life is like for North Korea's elite and the country's China policy. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Ever wonder what life is like for members of North Korea's elite? Well, I couldn't get Kim Jong-un to sit down with me. I mean, I'm no James Franco. But I got the next best thing, Tae Yong-ho. He was North Korea's deputy ambassador to the United Kingdom. Think about that. His job was to represent a country known for an insane despot who has convinced people that he's a living god. But notice I said was, because Tae Yong-ho defected in 2016, and believe me, that's not a job you can easily retire from. While we were at the Oslo Freedom Forum, Shelley Jung had a chance to sit down with a former ambassador to hear his strange tale.
Thank you for joining us, Ambassador Tae.
Thank you.
So what were you doing? What was your job in the North Korean embassy?
I was the deputy ambassador of North Korean embassy in London until the summer of 2016.
So what did you do? What were part of your duties as the deputy ambassador?
Basically, I was in charge of bilateral relations between North Korea and Britain, and there is a small embassy of North Korea in London, so that's why basically I was in charge of all the relationships between North Korea and UK, like political, economic, and cultural.
So when you were growing up in North Korea, did you believe in the North Korean regime?
Of course, you see, I was a true believer of North Korean the system, and I thought and I was taught in school that North Korea is the only socialist paradise in the world.
The only socialist paradise?
Yes, that's right. So that's why I really truly believed in what I was taught and educated.
Do you remember what your first contact was with the outside world?
Yes. I started some time in China, in Beijing. Time when I stayed in China was also the period of Chinese communist, the party rules. So that's why the mentality, philosophy were more or less same with China. And so basically I had no doubt in communism or socialism until I was firstly posted to Denmark as a North Korean diplomat. When I first arrived at Denmark, I saw quite a new world, because what I was taught in North Korea is that only socialist system can deliver a social welfare system to its people. But the welfare system established in Denmark was much, much better than what was already in North Korea. So that made me to analyze more deeply about the capitalist system. And so I started to study and analyze the New World, and I learned that because of that tax system, even the capitalist system can deliver much better welfare system for its people than the socialist the countries. And then later I started to doubt about the human rights, individualism, how a society can coordinate the different demands of the people through democratic way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I really, it was really a shock to me as a true believer in communism.
So let's go back for a minute to life in Pyongyang. Were you a member of the elite there?
Yes.
So what was life there? Do people who are in the elite have freedom, or are they still monitored?
Oh, they are very much monitored. The more higher place you go up, the more the lesser freedom you have in North Korean system. All the leaders of North Korea are heavily monitored, and you have less freedoms, while you may have more privileges of the power or economic benefit. But in terms of freedom, you have less freedom than the grassroots people in North Korea.
So how would that manifest? Like, you would be able to have, live a better material life, but you wouldn't be able to step out of line?
Yes, that's right. Everyone in North Korea has a boundary in your mind, so it is not possible to open your mind to anybody in North Korea. If you were detected as a man with a lot of dissatisfaction to the society, then you would be the immediate target of the arrest and would be sent to prison or even prison camps.
So you can never really let people know what you're thinking?
No. We have to be, not only me, but my colleagues who served quite a long time in foreign countries, they all kept their mouths shut.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to know is, when you came to Denmark and you saw that actually a democracy could provide for its people, wouldn't other diplomats have the same experience?
They have the same experience, but we never share our experiences. I never ask or ever even questioned what do you think about the capitalist system or the Danish welfare system? We never ask that kind of things.
So even though people have, gone outside North Korea and seen that life is different than what you were taught, everybody's still afraid to talk about it. Nobody so it's not hard to convince people to go back to North Korea?
North Korea is a kind of society where there is no any honest communications between the people, because people are not only afraid of the regime, but they are afraid of each other, because nobody knows who would inform to the regime about his ideas or his thinking. So everyone must keep silent what he really thinks.
So you wouldn't have to convince anybody that North Korea is better, or people just don't talk.
Don't talk, and don't even raise any questions, because everyone knows that once you raise up these questions or whatever, then you would be immediate target of the persecutions. So that's why this is common knowledge. Everyone knows that in North Korea.
So that sounds like defecting is quite dangerous.
Of course, it's very dangerous. To me, it's not quite dangerous, but for normal North Koreans, it's really dangerous, because you can be easily shot dead by the soldiers when you cross the rivers with China.
How do you decide to defect?
Oh, it's a long story. There's no any kind of, the triggering point, when or how, but it's a long plan and long thoughts.
Mm-hmm. So you had been thinking about it for a long time.
Yes, long time.
How about your family? Were you able to get them out?
Oh, they agreed when I initiated defect, and they appreciated my brave decisions to defect.
Could you even talk to your family about this idea?
Yes,
would that be?
I talked my ideas before the real defection.
Okay. So I heard that before you defected, the North Korean regime called you, one of the best and brightest diplomats. Like after you defected, did they admit that that had happened?
Yes.
So what did they?
They said that I'm a criminal. That's why I defected to the free world. So they all the pastors, the traitor, all those words North Korea, use on those defectors.
So is all of your family out of North Korea now then?
Oh, my wife and my 2 sons.
Do you have any family still there?
Yes, my brother, my sister, and all my relatives are still in North Korea.
Do you know what happened to them?
No, I have no any information. There is no any international telephone lines, so I am totally disconnected with my family members.
Is that difficult?
Yeah, sometimes it is difficult, but no choice, no alternatives.
Were you afraid to defect?
Yes.
I see that you travel with a bodyguard.
All right. Yes.
Have there been attempts on your life?
Oh, it is absolutely clear to me that now I am #1 target of assassination by North Korean regime. That's why I am heavily protected by South Korean government when I am in South Korea, and when I go abroad, then usually the countries who host my visit will take the responsibility of the protection.
Are you the #1 target because of your rank, or?
Because of my rank, and I am a very open critic of North Korean system.
So it's kind of defecting and then speaking out about it.
Yes, that's right. Many of my colleagues who, with my level of ranking, they are silent and they do not like to appear in the media. So that's why they do not have this kind of media, the appearance or attending these kind of events. But, I'm a little bit different. That's why North Korean regime, I think, hates me a lot.
Why do you do it then?
Because I think that just the waiting for the collapse of North Korean system is meaningless. I think somebody should do something, and I should do something in order to bring up change. If everyone is just waiting for the miracle to happen, the miracle will not take place.
I want to ask you a little bit about China and North Korea.
Yes.
What do you think about the Chinese regime's relationship with North Korea?
Yeah, China now continues to support Kim Jong-un regime. China continues to repatriate all North Korean defectors caught in China. So this kind of inhuman North Korean system by Kim Jong-un regime is only possible by the support of Chinese. So I really do hope that one day China is also democratized. If China becomes a free and democratic world, actually it will contribute a lot to the peace and freedom and democracy of the world. If China becomes free and democratic country, I think the next day North Korea will become democratic and free state.
So
There's
you're saying
no doubt about it.
you don't think the North Korean regime could survive without the Chinese regime?
No, never.
So let's talk a little bit about Chinese authorities sending North Korean refugees back to North Korea. Do you think this is something that they're ever going to stop doing?
I think China should stop doing, because North Korean refugees in China must be treated different from the other normal refugees. Now, the refugee problem is really one of big problem for the current world. But those refugees do not have any final destinations, to be honest. But North Korean refugees are different, because there is a South Korea who is willing to accept all the refugees from North Korea. So if China lets them on their way to South Korea, it could be even beneficial for China as well, because because of Chinese policy of repatriation, many North Korean men and ladies are in slave markets, in the human trafficking, sex, slaves, slaves of all these things. So if Chinese just support them or just give the way to continue their journey to South Korea, I think it could be beneficial for China as well and Chinese people. But now the Chinese government still thinks that the continuation of North Korean government is Chinese interest. That's why they try to support it by repatriating these North Korean refugees to North Korea.
Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now. You say you think that people need to do something about the North Korean regime. So what are some of the things that you're working on?
I'm going to educate the North Korean people and North Korean elites through online systems. Now there are around 100 North Koreans working overseas. All of them have smartphones, so they have very easy access to YouTube and internet. That's why I use this internet system to educate them, to give them the basic concepts of freedom, human rights, democracy, so that the change of their thinking would take place step by step, not, one day. But I think this kind of long process of educating them would make some progress one day.
Do you think that they might get the courage to defect and leave the North Korean regime?
Yes.
What about inside North Korea?
I think the only way to accelerate the process of the North Korean regime's collapse is to let more and more North Korean people defect the North Korean system. That is the most effective and peaceful way to bring the collapse of North Korean system.
What about people outside North Korea? Is there anything people can do?
Yes, people should unite to support North Korean defectors' journey to South Korea. The world NGOs should unite together to stop Chinese government policy of repatriation. And all the NGOs on this human rights front should be united, because whatever human rights issues of the countries, if we are all united and talk each other's human rights case, those totalitarian governments look each other. So if one success of one country or one human rights cases can be very easily expand to make another success in other parts of the world. So I think all the human rights, the cases are interrelated. So that's why, that is the reason why I'm here.
Thank you so much, Ambassador
Thank you.
Tai.